Hi everybody, it's Kim and welcome to the Fleece and Harmony Knitting and Crochet Podcast. We're recording in our yarn shop that's located in our woolen mill, that's located on our sheep farm in Belfast, Prince Edward Island. And when you're viewing this, this is episode 112 and we are releasing this video on January 6, 2023. So it's another new year. So happy new year to everybody and thank you all for joining me. If you're new here, we're going to talk about the farm and the work in our woolen mill and our shop and projects that we're working on. And if you're an old friend that's back again for another visit, welcome back. So what's happening on the farm? So my mom came to visit for Christmas, so she was here for 3 weeks. So the house is our old farmhouse, our 1860s farmhouse is being renovated, as regular viewers know. So the whole place is in complete disarray. We have gyprock up in a couple of rooms, as I said in the last podcast, but it's still pretty rustic living in there. And my mom was visiting with her dog. So it was really fun. It was really great to have her here, and we had lots of baking because she likes to bake, oat cakes especially. So we have oat cakes. If you're not familiar what Scottish oat cakes are, it's a cookie, but it's not really sweet, and it can be savory. But the way that we make them here, because we make them in a traditional style that they do in Cape Breton, is actually a very thin and crisp cookie, and it has oatmeal in it, like an oatmeal cookie, but it's not soft at all. It's very crisp, and it has just a little tiny bit of sweetness to it, so it's excellent with tea. So we've been eating those. My mom makes really good ones, and so we've been eating lots of oat cakes, and we had a really kind of quiet and lovely Christmas. You saw the last podcast on Christmas Eve. So on Christmas Eve, we went to the little country church that's close by our house again. And it was just a wonderful service on Christmas Eve. And I'll show a little bit about the church. People were asking me from the last podcast about, they wanted to see pictures of the church. So I'm probably showing a couple little pictures from the Christmas evening service. But if you stay tuned till the end of the podcast for the harmony part, then you'll see more, because we're featuring the little church in the harmony part actually. So as usual, though, we'll start with the farm update. So there was the visit from Mom, and then all of the animals are doing well. We actually now have to kind of ration Diva's food a little bit. So if you're new here, Diva is our 20-year-old sheep who has no teeth. She's got 3 teeth, excuse me. She does have a few teeth, 3. And she's being fed twice a day an alfalfa mash to make sure that she gets enough nutrition, because she can't really chew hay that well. And now she's like, the weight gain has not stopped. So now we're worried that she's actually a little bit too fat. So we have to kind of modulate her food a little bit. And so everybody's doing great, and the horses still have blankets on because it's still fluctuating here in the weather between warm up to 8 degrees Celsius, rain, and then mud, and then it'll drop down to -2 and it'll just be cold and nasty. Still no snow on the ground, but next week we are supposed to, or within the next 7 days, we are supposed to be getting a lot more snow that's supposed to stay. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's pretty yucky because it rains almost every day, and there's all kinds of mud everywhere, and it's just kind of gray and not many really nice winter days, which can be beautiful here. So not that we want to have snow, but we would like it to be a little bit frozen, and if it was white, that would be great instead of brown mud everywhere. The other thing that happened was, while Mom was here, we gave her our bedroom. So we actually slept on a blow-up bed in one of the rooms that's yet to be completed. So there was gyprock in the room, but there was nothing else. It was just all like bare gyprock walls. The mud hasn't been put on the gyprock or anything. All of the moldings and everything are off. So it was just a bare kind of a gyprock box. And when we moved here, our furniture wasn't coming. We were going to be here for 2 weeks before our furniture came. So we had bought quite a good blow-up bed that sits on a frame, actually. So it's a queen-size blow-up bed. It has a little cover on it that has some memory foam, and it has a nice frame, like a solid frame. So as far as blow-up beds go, it was kind of posh. It's kind of a posh one. But I can tell you the one sound that you don't want to hear when you're climbing into bed at night on a blow-up bed is this sound, which we heard one night. So after sleeping on it for 2 weeks, Ken climbed into bed one night, and just when he put his elbow kind of on the bed, and when he did that, that's what we heard. And you could actually feel the air coming out of the blow-up bed. So there was only one other bed, and that was our bed that we gave to my mother. So we were like, what are we going to do if the blow-up bed is not going to work? So it comes with a little pump and everything. So we blew it back up, and we blew it up kind of tight for the night. And then we got on it and hoped that by the morning we weren't just laying right on the frame. And much to our surprise, there actually was still a little bit of air in it when we woke up in the next morning, but we took off all of the cover and the little padding and stuff like that, and there was definitely a hole in the bed. So I don't know if the cat jumped up there or the dog jumped up or it just wore out, but it was, I think that might have been Christmas Day that happened. So there wasn't really an option to get another mattress right away. So we took our chances, and we got some silicone that we were using for caulking in the bathroom one time when we redid the caulking. And we let some of the air out of the mattress, and then we put the caulking on the bed. We had no idea if it was going to be strong enough to hold, especially when you're moving around, because it obviously it needed some flexibility. But luckily it worked. So, and it stayed good until we were able to put it away. So my mom went home 2 days ago. I drove her home on, that was Tuesday. I stayed overnight in Halifax and then came back yesterday. And so we had our own bed back 2 nights ago, and we didn't have the blow up bed anymore, but it held. So I think we actually fixed it, which is great. So I think that if we have to use it again, we will test it out and make sure that the caulking is still holding. But whatever brand of caulking was that worked, especially when you've got like movement, like turning over in bed and everything. And I was a bit amazed that it still stayed. So yeah, you don't want to hear the air being pushed out of your blow up bed when that's the only bed that you're going to have. Otherwise, I probably would have crawled in with my mom, and Ken would have had to sleep on the couch for the next week and a half. Not great. So that's about it. So just the regular progress in the house, and we're waiting on a couple of the trades. It's really been busy around here with everything that's happened with the hurricane, and buildings had to be rebuilt or repaired and everything. So we are doing a bit of waiting around for the trades to come so we can move to the next step in the house. But there's progress. We got our new appliances and things like that. So we're ready when they are to start setting up other rooms. So I think at this point we have the series. I've been showing the series that's called The Fabric of Canada, that was produced by the Campaign for Wool for Canada. And there's 4 little videos that they did. So we've seen the first 2. One was the knitters from Newfoundland. So if you want to go back 2 episodes. So in episode 110, I showed the knitters of Newfoundland. In episode 111, the last episode, we showed the 100-mile jacket, which was really interesting. That right from shearing the sheep all the way to the woven fabric and the sewing of a designer jacket that was being sold at Holt Renfrew stores. And this week we're going to talk about, or we're going to see the video that was done for Coast Salish Weaving. So these amazing group of knitters with their, weavers with their traditions on the west coast of Canada is the topic of this week's segment of the Fabric of Canada, brought to you by the Campaign for Wool for Canada. So I hope you enjoy it.
Tinoyap and sequatal, ayas chop tinoyap, ayas chop tinoyap, japchemi asiam quashamans na, tinachent las nak, skachmishu homeoch, anwanacht and squalman. Salish weaving is so significant in our culture. It's foundational to the tradition and culture of our people. One of the highest things we have in a ceremony is weavings. They're not just for looks, they're not just for optics. They all have significance. In a ceremony, a robe is put on you. That protection that is brought through this blanket is spiritual protection. So the weaver has woven prayers of good energy for you to wear for that ceremony. I realized how important weaving is to our people when I saw the photographs from 1906 of our chiefs who went to England to talk to King Edward VII about our land. They were concerned about our land. It's such a beautiful photograph. They're standing so regally. The weavings are so beautiful. And I thought, I wanted to do that. I realized I wanted to bring weaving back to our people when I was a teenager because I wanted to honor our leaders of the day and be able to make them some robes to wear, or maybe wear a robe myself. And at that time, nobody was weaving. I didn't find somebody who would teach me until I was 40-something. I guess it was the right time. Buddy and I started this journey together. When we first got together, we went to a healer, and he came to us and he was like, "You two are going to be working together." And we're like, "I work in museums and Buddy's an administrator for housing. What are we going to do? How are we going to work together?" I just thought nothing of it and just thought it was kind of okay. It was only like 1 or 2 years later, we ran into our teacher and we both went to learn, and then we taught together. It's such a living dream, really, to be able to bring something back to your people. Our people didn't always use sheep wool. Our people used mountain goat wool. My great-grandfather was a mountain goat hunter. My grandmother told me that his mountain goat hunting area was the lions, or what we call them, the sisters. And that's a minimum 25-mile hike, climbing a mountain. He would do that and get the mountain goat and then have to bring him back.
Imagine how long that would take. It's all hiking.
Not everyone could be a mountain goat hunter because spiritually they're very powerful. I love working with wool because it's a solid, stable material that takes dye well, and it'll last for a really, really long time. I think the material that we use has its own energy. I think that's the importance of using something alive. We started teaching for the Olympics, and I taught during the day and Buddy taught at night after he finished his day job. I got to go to the opening ceremonies. It is amazing. You know, our people are wearing them, our people are making them. I cried like a baby, like the ugly cry. It was just, it was so important to us to represent our people to the world. It's a privilege to be a weaver. It's really my dream that I've had for a long time. I was born to do this.
Okay, So that's another amazing aspect of how wool is being used in Canada that I didn't know a lot about. So that's great. It's so great that the Campaign for Wool has done these videos. So we have one left, and we're going to go to the prairies in that episode, and that will be when we do episode 113 of this podcast. We'll do that final segment. So I want to talk a little bit about the Scandiworks knit along. I've been mentioning it in all of the episodes, but I finally started my sweater. So I talked quite a lot about it with Betsy, so I won't take up a lot of time here. We'll go to the segment with Betsy right after this, but I want to encourage people, if you bought yarn to do the knit along, or you were thinking about doing the knit along and you want to join in, that the knit along actually goes until April 30th. So you absolutely have time to knit a sweater, or I should say, be a little bit more specific. We're featuring all of the patterns from Scandiworks or Kristen Drysdale. So at the time that we started this, Kristen had just published her 100th pattern on Ravelry, and I think she's published another couple of patterns since then. So you can check out on Ravelry and see all of the beautiful patterns that Kristen has designed. We also are using the patterns from the Nordic Knitting Primer, which is the book that Kristen released last year. I think it was at the very beginning of last year of 2022. It might have been early 2021. But that's just a great book, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the shop update. We have just received more copies of it because we keep running out, so it's a fantastic book. But I did start my sweater, so I'm doing the Maya sweater out of the Nordic Knitting Primer. And I did my swatch, so I'm trying to do like a little bit more of a low contrast color. And I've just washed and blocked my swatch, and so now I'm ready to decide what size of sweater that I'm going to knit. So the sweater pattern asks you to knit on a size 5mm needle. I'm using Selkirk worsted for this sweater, and the size 5mm is going to give me too loose of a fabric. So like I do with every sweater I make, I decided to go down needle size to get the fabric that I want. So I actually knit the color work on the swatch using a 4.5mm needle, and there's the color work yoke, and there's some other detailing along the bottom of the sweater in color work. I decided when I knit the swatch that I was going to go down a needle size to knit the stockinette part. So the way my sweater will go is that I will, it's a bottom up, so when I get to the yoke I will go to a larger size. So I'm going to do 4mm needle for the stockinette, and I'm going to do a 4.5mm on the color work. It gives me roughly the same gauge if I do that. The stockinette part is actually 20 stitches for 10 centimeters, and the color work part on the 4.5mm is 20.5 stitches for 10 centimeters. So I think I can just live with that. It'll be a little bit larger on the top, which would be okay. So I'll take that into consideration when I decide what size I'm actually going to knit, because that will give me just a little bit more room on the bust. And I usually have to do a little bit of an adjustment there anyway. So I think this will work pretty perfectly. It is not the gauge called for on the pattern, so I will look at the pattern suggested gauge, and I will do the math so that I'm casting on the right number of stitches to get the size of sweater that I want. If this doesn't make sense to you, or you're not exactly sure what I'm talking about, I did do a tutorial on substituting yarns, and part of that tutorial is how to figure out what size of pattern you need to knit if you're changing the yarn and then henceforth you're changing the gauge of the knitting that you're doing. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes, but also I have included one here so you can link through on the video. So that's what we'll do with that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that with Betsy when we go to that section. But I'm going to start the shop update with talking about some books, and I wanted to talk about sweater knitting because it seems that when you come to the new year, it's a time to try new things and have plans. Betsy and I talk about the fact that we haven't made any resolutions or anything, but people do tend to be motivated to start on projects. So I wanted to feature some of the resources that we carry in the store that would have to do with sweater knitting. So if you've watched this podcast, you know that I love to knit sweaters. And it's been a while since I showed some of my favorite sweater books. So the first one I want to show is the Cocoa Knits Sweater Workshop. So this book has been around for a little while, and lots of my viewers have knit from this book because the information that's in this book, Julie has designed this method to knit sweaters that is like a recipe almost. So there's lots of really great patterns in here, but you use a system of like a little chart, a worksheet, to give your sweater, it's top down, but it has the look of a set-in sleeve almost with this method. So it's a really good compromise between top down and either a looser sleeve application and something that looks fully tailored. So it's somewhere in between, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. And the book also gives you a lot of great information about how to adjust your sweater to fit you, whatever your body type. So this is one of my favorite go-to books. I recommend a lot for people that are newish knitters. So you need to have a little bit of knitting skill, but it's really a step-by-step book. It also comes with, you can buy this companion worksheet journal. And the way that the method works is that you have a chart, then it gives you fill in all of the stitches that you need when you decrease and when you increase. And this book is just filled with more worksheet pages. So you can knit sweaters and use this method on a lot of different types of patterns as well. And this will just give you a record of the patterns that you knit and the adjustments that you made using the method to get the sweater in the exact fit that you want. So that's the Cocoa Knits Sweater Workshop, and then the Sweater Workshop Journal. If you want extra worksheets, you can use that. The other great resource that I love for sweater knitting is the Ultimate Sweater Book, Amy Herzog's Ultimate Sweater Book. Again, this is really teaching you the theory of the different types of sweaters. So this goes through like a basic pullover. There's a basic cardigan, if you want to do a raglan sleeve sweater. And the thing about Amy is that she really likes to have a sweater that's fitted, but well fitted to different body types. So she teaches you in this book how to almost do, I'm not sure if she calls them darts or not, but moving your increases and decreases around for shaping and to get a perfect fit in your sweaters. And there's lots of really great patterns in this. But this is also a book that will teach you skills to adjust your sweater patterns that you can use on any sweater that you make. So for example, I'm actually going to use her method on my Maya sweater because there's not a lot of shaping. I don't even think there is any shaping on the Maya sweater from Scandiworks that I'm knitting. So I will do some waist shaping using the method that Amy Herzog talks about in this book. So you'll be following along with me when I do that with my for the knit along. So that's Amy Herzog's Ultimate Sweater Book. She has other books as well, like Knitwear Love and things like this, but I think that this is the best of the series. It's kind of a culmination of all the other 3 books that she wrote before she wrote this one. And then finally, I just want to talk about the Nordic Knitting Primer again, because this is Kristen Drysdale's book, and we just got more stock in of this book. It's probably in its 3rd, I know for sure they've been to a 2nd printing already, but it's probably in its 3rd printing now. And it's all about what you need to know to master color work in a Nordic style. So there's lots of different patterns in here. There's hats and there's gloves and mittens and all kinds of beautiful things. And I've talked about this book a lot because I really like it. And if you follow this book, you can start knitting from this book if you're a beginner to color work. And she gives you great visual tutorials on the different techniques that she's talking about. And if you follow the book along with the project starting from the beginning to the end, they get progressively more advanced. So the skills that you use in the first pattern that you would knit, you're going to use and add to for the next pattern as you go up the scale of difficulty of the patterns. And I just think that this is just a great resource and such a well-written book, and the patterns that are inside are really lovely as well. So that kind of ties in with the KAL. And the sweater that I'm knitting comes out of this this book, and as I said, it's the Maya. I'm just going to see if I can, well, I'll just put a picture up so I won't bother trying to find a picture of it in here. Okay. So those books are kind of my, I thought that would be a good introduction for the year, the starting of the new year, if people wanted to dive into doing sweater knitting. Those are great resources. I have 2 more books that I talked about briefly because I got them in December, I think. So before Christmas, with everything that's going on during that time, I didn't really spend a lot of time talking about them. And I didn't do any slideshows. So I'm going to do a couple little slideshows. So the first one that I'm going to do is for the Knitted Fabric, which is the new book by Dee Hardwick. It's published by Lina, and it has like a wide variety of patterns, and I'm going to do just a quick little slideshow to show you the patterns that are in this book. If you're interested in this one, you might have already heard about it. It's, like I said, it's been out for about a month now, so I'll just skip over to the slideshow for that. We're back, and the next slideshow I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do all of the patterns. It's also published by Lina, and it's 52 weeks of easy knits. So this book is has 52 patterns in it of things that are quick knits and easy knits, and there's every different type of knitting in here. So there's sock knitting, there's sweaters, there's hats, there's scarves. There's a lot of different variety of patterns in this book, so also lovely. So I'll pick out a few of my favorites out of this book and do the slideshow as well. So we'll take a look at that. Wow. So the patterns are covered for whatever you want to do. So, and again, I wanted to feature things that could be easier for people if they wanted to try a new type of knitting. If you knit socks all the time and you want to try an easy sweater, then you can, look at the 52 weeks of easy knits, or go to any of the other reference books that I talked about. Also in the shop, I wanted to remind people that I brought in some of the Regia sock yarn in the colors that Arne and Carlos designed for Regia. And I brought these in for when Arne and Carlos were here, but I still have stock of these beautiful Regia sock yarns. So if you go to the website, you'll be able to find them. And I'll just put up this little picture because you can see that these yarns all create a pattern in your sock. So you're doing like color work with just straight knitting, which I think is fantastic and really smart. And Regia is such a well-respected sock yarn. I think they've been making sock yarn since 1882 or something like that. So it's just a beautiful yarn for socks. So we do still have these in the shop as well. So you can check that out. And another new yarn that we received in the fall, but we didn't really have a lot of chance to talk about, is 3 new colors in the Rowan Felted Tweed color. So Rowan Felted Tweed color is a yarn that is variegated and has this graduated color changing feature. And in the shop, we've knit up a ball of all of the yarn, and because of each of the yarn colors, because it's really the way that it's wound in the ball, it's hard to see exactly what kind of an effect you're going to get without seeing it knit up. So this is color number 30, and it's called Topaz, and it's a new color. And you can see that it goes from gray into purple to like a tealy blue. So that one's new, number 30, Topaz. And another new one is number 29, Agate. And this is just a beautiful soft pink into fuchsia and purple, like soft mauve. And the third new one is 28. So I went from the higher number back to the lower number. Oh, sorry, it's 31. And this one is called Jade. And this is a beautiful greens and blues. So I love all of these yarns, and you can see pictures of them on the website that show the graduation. But all of these yarns have this beautiful, unusual combination of colors that they have put for them to go together. And if you're wondering about the swatches that we did, what we did here is, this is one ball of the yarn, and we actually just made up this pattern, and you can use them as a cowl or a dicky, and you just cast on 120 stitches. Some of them we did just a rolled edge on some of them, and in some of them we've done a slight seed stitch border. You knit in the round, all are joined obviously in the round, and you knit up until you only have enough yarn for you to finish your border at the top. So it doesn't matter what your gauge is. We've knit these mostly on, I think we were using like a 3.5 or a 4 millimeter needle. And you just knit until you have enough yarn left that you can finish the border that you want on the top, and that's it. And you have this beautiful sized neck warmer that you can just put on, and so it's a tight cowl, so it doesn't twist around obviously, but it gives you this beautiful little collar that you can use like a dicky. So if you want to buy one ball of this yarn, then you can do that. But Rowan also has patterns using this where they feature the graduated color. Obviously works best when you have like a straight stretch of stockinette. You can use it with patterns as well, like different stitches, but it really is about the color in this yarn. And the felted tweed that these colors are dyed on is exactly the same as the felted tweed regular. So it's a DK size felted tweed, which is one of the best yarns ever. So that's we have those 3 new colors. I also wanted to feature, I should have talked about this when we were talking about cocoa knits, but kind of a understated product that Cocoa Knits makes. They make a lot of different accessories as well. So they do the knitting notions, obviously, but they also do a lot of fun other specialty things. So one of the things that we've been carrying for a long time, but I don't know that I've ever showed it on the podcast, is the market bag. And when you buy the market bag, it's this linen, it looks like a square, but it's opened. And it's made out of unbleached linen fabric. And it comes in small, medium, and large. And the dimensions are on the website. You can put your own handles on it. It doesn't come with the handles. Or you can buy these leather handles that just fit onto the bag. So the handles are sold separately. When you buy the handles, though, you also get instructions on how to sew the bag. So if you just bought the handles and you have your own fabric that you want to use, you'll get the instructions on how to sew the market bag, and you can use the handles. If you buy just the fabric for the bag, then you have to provide your own handles, or you have to buy the leather handles separately. So like I said, it comes in 3 different sizes. This is the medium. And it's just a really, really cute, easy bag. You can put your knitting in it and or use it as a market bag. So that's something that we have in Cocoa Knits. And we carry almost everything that Cocoa Knits makes. So if there's other things in Cocoa Knits that you, obviously their stitch markers are fantastic. They have the stitch stoppers. They have all kinds of really, really cool accessories. And now they have kind of built out their sweater care kits as well. So we have all the components for that. And of course the blocking kits are fantastic. So you can check out Cocoa Knits. And the final thing I wanted to show in the shop is we restocked on these beautiful felt project bags from Rowan. So they've got this felt body with these, they're not real leather, they're leatherette handles, but a nice generous size. It doesn't have a zipper. It is just an open bag, but it's just really so elegant and beautiful. And we have that for sale in the shop as well. So you can check that out. So that's it for the shop update. So we're going to jump on over and see what Betsy's been up to over the holidays. And she's kind of changed her direction for her knit along project that she was doing for the Kristen Drysdale knit along. So we'll see what she's up to, what she's been doing for the last 2 weeks. We'll see you over there. Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Kim.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Happy New Year.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
What day are people looking at? Today's the 4th. It's Wednesday. We're recording a day late because I just got back from Halifax, dropping my mom off. So Thursday would be the 5th and Friday is the 6th. So you're watching this on January 6th. And I have to say that over the holidays when I was sitting, I wasn't knitting.
Oh, Kim.
I was eating.
Oh, well, I have a very rare talent.
Oh,
I can knit and eat at the same time.
Oh, really?
No.
No.
But I can have snacks beside me, and I can pause knitting, and I can...
Oh, not Cheetos, though.
Not Cheetos, no.
Because then you get orange.
Oh, no.
orange.
Chocolate. As long as it's not... And my house is cold enough, the chocolate's never melting.
Oh.
So it's all good.
Yeah. Anyway, did you have a great holiday?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you?
Yes,
Yeah.
very nice.
Good time with your mom?
Yep. She was here for
Nice.
3 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So just the day before yesterday, I drove her home. I spent the night there, and then I came back yesterday. So
Right.
that's why we're recording a little bit late.
Okay.
I'm hoping that this is actually going to go out Friday at 2:30, but who knows?
We'll see.
Depends on
Yeah.
how many mistakes we make, how much editing there is. And were you
Yeah.
busy knitting over the holiday?
I was.
Yeah?
I have a few things to show. It's still projects I was working on before. But starting with what I'm wearing.
Yay!
Because I showed it to you basically completed last time. But then I think I bumped my mic down. We're okay. I hadn't put the fringe on yet. So
Yes.
hopefully the fringe is showing.
It's beautiful.
But I really like it.
Yes.
I really like
Yes.
it a lot. Yeah.
And it's worth doing the fringe.
It is. Yeah, it finished it. It gave it
Yeah.
I don't know, it gave it just this finished look
Flair.
to it.
A little bit of flair.
So,
It
and
did
then
take
that-
half a ball of yarn.
It did take up a skein of yarn. Wait, hold on. Sorry. No, it did.
A full skein?
It did. No, it took half.
Half a skein,
Because I
okay.
used a full skein to put the stripes in,
Okay.
I think. Yes, because I had bought 5 skeins of yarn in total, 2 of the Ferris wheel and 3 of the cotton candy.
Right.
And I have left half of a cotton candy and half of a Ferris wheel.
Okay.
So yes, it took half
Half a skein.
a skein of
But
yarn.
worth it.
So worth it. Yeah.
Right, I
and then
think
it's just fun to play with.
Yeah.
So I quite like it.
And it seems like you got exactly what you wanted.
Absolutely.
Wrap
And it
around.
has, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah, it's okay. You wrap around once and then you have the full length in the front. So
Yes.
beautiful.
And beautiful drape to it with our sock yarn. It just has the sock yarn. I knit it on, I think it was 5mm.
Yeah, that's what you
yes,
said
what I said
before.
earlier. Gave it just this real loose flowiness to
Drapey.
it.
Yeah,
So I
lovely.
really, really
So
like
our
it.
sock yarn is like a true fingering. So
Yes.
on a 5mm needle, you get the idea. It's gonna be drapey and it's beautiful.
But not like, it doesn't look
It still has
holy.
body.
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't look like it's full of holes because
No.
it still like fills in.
Right.
So you can't see through with giant holes or anything,
Yeah.
but it just gives it good drape.
Yes. So we'll have to say this because if we don't say it, inevitably we get a question.
Okay.
So this is this is not a pattern. It's just a work that you did.
Yeah.
She started in the corner, did followed instructions from YouTube on how to make a diagonal
scarf. Yeah.
And knit it in point prim sock yarn, in cotton candy, and Ferris wheel.
Yep.
And she just knit until it was long enough, and it's seed stitch on the cotton candy, which is the blue, and garter stitch
Ferris wheel. Yeah.
on the
So it's
diagonal.
all
So-
good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then of course I've been in love with this little fella for a long
tree
time.
frog.
Yeah, where is he? There he is. He's hiding here. So shawl pins. You
Yes.
probably know a bit more detail about
Yes.
what exactly they
So
are.
we carry jewel designs, shawl pins, and she's also got buttons, like you screw in closures and things like that you can use in your knitwear. So she has a whole series of animals or insects and animals and things like there's
Yeah.
a hummingbird, there's the tree frog, there's a sea turtle, there's bees, there's monarch butterflies,
Dragonfly.
and a dragonfly. I think that's
Yes.
it. So she has a shawl stick, which is what you're
Yeah,
wearing.
just the single
So it's just a
stick through.
stick with the motif on
let's see
the
if I
top.
can- Yeah. So he just pulls out.
Yeah,
Just
so
like that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And holds it in place. But they also come on charm lock shawl pins. I'll show pictures as I'm talking about it. With the charm lock shawl pin, you can change the charms. You can buy the charms separately. So you get your initial setup with the pin and one charm, and then you can buy the charms separately as well.
Then
So we have
one day if you feel like a tree frog, great. Next day feel like a hummingbird, go for
That's
it.
right. Exactly. Exactly right. So yes, Jewel Designs. She's from Maryland, and she's just a great designer.
And they're
Very clever.
good and sturdy. Like
Yes.
I like them. They don't feel like they're gonna just kind of snap. They have a good thickness to them.
Yeah, very well made. She uses white brass as one of the metals and
Okay.
things like. So they're very.
So
well
shouldn't
made.
discolor then
No,
either.
no,
nice.
they're really
Very
nice.
Yeah.
So they're great. So that's good.
So that's done and
big
off
success.
my list.
yes.
Yeah.
Cross off.
So how do you approach the new year? Are you like a make all kinds of
No.
goals and plans?
No.
Okay. No.
No.
All right. I usually do.
You do.
But this year, I'm kind of just floating into the new year.
Are you?
Yeah, I thought about it. I'm like, oh, I should sit down and come up with some ideas of what I'm going to tackle, both with knitting and just other tasks and goals
Right.
in my life. And I kind of decided not to this year. I
Just
was
gonna
like,
go with the flow.
I am. We made some really big changes in our life over the last few years.
Right.
So I think I'm just going to let this year happen
Yeah.
and see where it goes.
I think I used to be more planned and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But now I don't wait for the new year to make, like if I want to improve something or whatever, I don't wait till the new year to do it.
yeah.
So then why should I pile a bunch of stuff on in the new year? That's what I think.
What
Like,
your
that's what-
view is.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm just-
And it hasn't been, it's a new year that just kind of rolled in cloudy and rainy
Yes.
around here. We haven't really had much winter. So it doesn't
Yeah.
even feel like a fresh, exciting new season or anything
No,
either. So
it just feels like
Yeah.
mud season again.
Yeah.
Because now it's, what was it here last week? You got up to 8
And
one
we're
day,
even
8 degrees
still-
Celsius.
we're above 0 for
Yes,
sure.
yes. So it is supposed
yeah.
to get colder now, though.
Okay. All right.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so even though I made this beautiful scarf and wrap, if it doesn't, and I had said originally I was going to wear it with a hoodie that I have
Yeah.
to go, because this is my cake, and then the hoodie is the ice cream hoodie. But tonight, honestly, it's so warm.
Yeah.
With the hood, and I'd have been dying.
Yeah.
So,
So
I just
we'll-
went with a light
We'll
t-shirt.
we'll see it some other time
Yeah.
with the whole ensemble.
Sounds good. Okay.
So, and for people that are wondering, I am wearing Even Dune, which is a Kate Davies design, which I made for the Kate Davies knit along that I had last year. And it is knit in Selkirk worsted yarn.
Yeah.
A lot of people asked me what the sweater was that I had on last week, which was a red sweater with a white motif. It's actually, I didn't make that. That's actually, I don't think, it's not, I say Dale of Norway, but it's not Dale. I think it's Dala.
Oh,
I
okay.
think so. Dala of Norway. And so totally store bought. So that was
still
the red
beautiful.
sweater.
It's
Yeah, I
still
love it.
wool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
natural wool for sure, Norwegian wool. So it's but there was a lot of comments about.
Are you going to go through the colors of what you've got in this one?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
So the cuff is autumn birch, and then I have lady slipper, which is the purple. Seafoam is the turquoise. Then you have my stripe where I actually ran out of yarn, so it's like a fudge
but
stripe.
it's cute.
Yeah, and amethyst brooch and natural. And I think
This
that's
one, did you say this one?
watermelon. That was the one I ran out of because that would have been there.
Would have been there.
It would have been there. So watermelon. So those are the colors.
But that is such a fun idea. Rather than
Yeah.
going, and you probably went into it length at
Yeah.
the time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like, rather than going and pulling a whole new skein, just use what you've got.
Right.
And I love those touches
Yeah,
in
exactly.
sweaters.
That's what I did. So
Beautiful.
And it ended up that I had it was really, and the sweater I knitted in with one skein of each of the colors, except for I think the natural. I actually had to go into a second skein. So I didn't want to. I didn't want to open another skein so I made it work. So
Nice.
that's it.
Well,
Yeah.
it's lovely.
But,
And I love the colors
thanks.
of it.
Yeah, it's a nice sweater.
So
So
what else?
do you got?
Okay. So I finished this up because I started to tackle things sort of one at a time.
Right.
And then I wanted to do a bit more on my husband's mittens. So they're coming along. So
Nice.
we've finished the top. And on both mittens, that top section has been knitted at least twice.
Oh yeah. Why?
Just to get the shaping right.
Oh, okay.
The first time I started decreasing too soon, so he still had like the tips of his 3 fingers
Oh.
sticking out the top, where it would have closed off. And I followed it's his chart that he came up with. But I followed for the construction the Saltwater Ladies mittens. I just picked one of their men's patterns and kind of used that to come up with the ideas. So just made the ribbing and then followed their thumb gusset chart.
Okay.
And then also followed their decreasing and finishing off. So
Okay.
she described it as like you would do maybe a toe closure.
Okay. Yeah.
So she has you decrease on both at the beginning of the row and the end of the row. And then for the last about 8 or so stitches, you do a 3 needle bind off.
Okay.
So you turn it inside out.
Right.
And do the 3 needle bind off.
Right.
And I quite liked that.
Yeah. So
yeah.
for a sock, you would actually probably close it with a Kitchener stitch.
Well, I was wondering
because
you'd
the
have-
3 needle bind off leaves a bit of a seam, but in mittens it's perfect.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it gives it a nice sturdy. I like
Yeah.
the 3 needle bind off.
Yeah, nice.
The other thing, as people may or may not be able to notice, there's one little section I couldn't quite fix the jog on.
Yeah.
But as we went into here, I pulled up Patty Lyon's tutorial on YouTube, and she has a few. She breaks it down. She gives you a tutorial for if you're doing a 1 row change, color
Right.
change, and then she also gives you for a 2 row color change because they are different.
Yes.
So I was doing 2 row, so I used her 2 row, and it works beautifully.
Right.
So that I will use that going forward, and then I think 3 rows and beyond, and you might as well just be doing. Is it helical knitting?
Helical
Yes.
knitting, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So just for people that might not have been, so this one doesn't have a jog.
Oh, doesn't it?
Where's that?
It's gone.
But yeah,
I fixed it.
Is that the one you fixed?
Yeah.
Oh.
I fixed them all.
Yeah.
And
okay.
after I didn't rip back, I just took
because you were doing them 2 at a time, right?
Yeah, and
Yes,
I didn't want to.
yes,
I just didn't
okay.
want to go back. Now this
Yeah.
one didn't end up quite, but we won't even show the
Okay,
audience.
so-
But that one came out pretty good.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a jog
Yeah.
there. So I hadn't seen up to this part. I don't think I hadn't. The last time I saw them, you were just
Maybe only
maybe
halfway through the chart.
Yeah, not
Okay.
even halfway through. So
Okay.
I didn't actually ever see the Canada Games logo,
Yeah.
but he nailed it exactly.
He did
eh?
a really good job. And
Yeah.
then he put them on and held them up together and got super excited
Oh,
when
'cause
it
you create-
completes
Oh,
the
okay.
maple leaf. I think it's
Okay.
showing. Maybe better when it's actually on his hands.
Yeah.
But it actually so you
He
get
thinks,
the 3.
He thinks you're so smart.
Well, no, he did it.
No,
oh,
I know, but-
just the positioning of how
I mean, he
it-
did the motif, but he didn't know
Exactly.
how. So
we
he-
didn't realize how well it would turn out. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we're really pleased. So it's just the thumbs.
Yes. So Betsy's husband is volunteering at the Canada Games. So now he's got
Right.
the official logo
Yeah.
mittens.
And my panicked look there for a second is if winter doesn't arrive on the island, I'm not quite sure how this Winter Canada Games is going to be pulled off. So
yeah.
and that's happening end of February. So we have time.
Yeah,
but
we're
still.
supposed to get snow this week.
Okay.
Yeah, later on, like in the next week or so.
Well, they
so.
need to lay down a good base layer for the ski hills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I won't fret. It's not really my problem to
No,
solve.
no.
I did go to my very first knit night
Yes.
last night. I was so excited. One of the local ladies here dropped by and invited me to come, so I went. And true to form, apparently, I knit half a thumb and it was all wrong. So when I got home, I had to pull it all out.
Yeah. That's perfect knit night knitting.
That's what they told me. So I did it and I put it on and I went, good golly, he's going to lose his thumb if he wears this too long. It's too tight, the circulation. So I think I just need to add additional stitches.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what makes knit night so fun.
So that's it. So going forward, I think I need a knit night project.
Yeah, that's
something like what I did here,
Yeah.
where there's no pattern to
TV
it.
knitting is good for knit night.
Yes.
Yes. So just kind of mindless and repetitive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So those
Good.
are coming along good, and I'm happy
Great.
with them. And
Yeah.
the saltwater ladies have guided me beautifully.
Yeah, beautiful. Which is actually really good because if you can use their patterns as a template to do like anything you want, really. So that's
Exactly.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the technique is
for it.
kind of general.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
most of theirs, I think they don't do like picture charts on theirs. They do a lot of
Motifs.
Yes, that's a
Yes.
good way. Is that
Yeah.
what you call it, motif? So
Well, it's
yeah.
not too much. We got a comment on the podcast about somebody else doing a fox hat, I think, or something like that, and she was saying, "What is it with the foxes?" Because there was 3 strands of yarn in it. But I think that this is what happens is that when you're doing Fair Isle, most Fair Isle is only using 2 colors, but they're doing motifs. They're not doing pictures.
Exactly.
And once you start getting into pictures and you want detail, then you're forced to use more colors and it's just more difficult.
And in terms of a fox, orange, white, and black.
Yeah.
That's a fox.
Yeah,
I get to
exactly.
see them in real life now.
Yeah.
I know there's varying opinions on whether they're a nuisance or whether they're a beauty, but I don't have chickens or anything to worry about. So for me, the fox are delightful. So I learned over the holidays that apparently fox and coyote don't generally share the same territory.
That's what people have told us.
Yeah. So I think I have a fox. Like the road in front of my house must divide their territory.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause on a regular basis in the morning or the evening, I see the fox go by in front of my house. And the other day, I knew he was out there because I was following his tracks in the snow. And I caught a sight of him, which to see coyotes to catch sight is rare.
Yeah.
But I saw him going across the back field.
Oh, okay.
So I think my house is like the dividing line of the territory.
Oh, wow. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what people told us because we had foxes. We had one family of foxes, which was fine. Even when we had chickens, you'd lose one every now and then. Then a second family was like in the next territory over, and then it was all at war over who could eat some more chickens. So that didn't work. So that's why we don't have chickens anymore, because I couldn't take it anymore, because we were losing them. Like, it got to be crazy. So,
well, I mean,
but
in
we
some
don't
ways,
have like coyotes around.
Yeah, you can't blame them, because you kind of make it easy pickings for them, right? I mean, they could go hunt and search for rabbits and rodents, or they could go to your chicken coop that's fully loaded and get takeout.
Yes. We had electric fence around it.
Oh, wow.
So they were, they would, I don't know if they waited for when there was an opportunity, when, I don't know what, maybe one of the panels wasn't hooked together or whatever, but you couldn't make a mistake, because they would get in. And then at the end, they were brazen enough that I think as the summer the grasses get higher and things like that, the fence is less effective when you've got that poultry wire around. You have to really keep it hot. Okay. And if it starts to lose, anyway, it was just a massacre, which was horrifying. So we said, that's it. We're out of the chicken business.
Done with the chickens.
Yeah. So,
well, they're known for being sly and smart, and so.
Yeah.
Anyway, foxes, coyotes.
Yes.
We've got it all going on right now.
Exactly. So
let's get
I'm
into.
I'm going to just show my
great.
work on my the cowl cardigan. So this is the Rowan design, and I've got, these are all sections. There's the back and the two front panels, because it's a cardigan, and I have them all on the same thing because I'm just holding stitches, because I'm about to start the sleeves. So it's a raglan sleeve, so you have the raglan design, but this is all three pieces just holding for around the neck area. I don't know if we can make it look kind of like a sweater, but
can you help me out to understand how you create a raglan in pieces? I've contemplated on this, and I just don't quite get it. Do you have to seam at some point then?
Oh yeah, you have to seam it.
Okay.
So what will happen is, I'm not sure if I even have these on the right way.
She's back here still.
Yeah, but you'll match up the side seams. No, it's the wrong, I got them on the wrong way.
Okay.
So if I start it from the bottom, they're not going to come off because I have my stitch stoppers on. So if I start it from the bottom, and so you get a triangle there, and you get part of a triangle there. I might still have this wrong. I think it goes like this.
We did not pre-plan this question, folks, as you have probably figured out.
So you see what happens? Okay. So the two pieces, the front and the back, one side of the front and one side of the back, you'll join it. Then you're left with these two triangles, and then the raglan sleeve gets sewn into those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you mattress stitch stuff? Do you
I always
backstitch mattress stitch?
I always
even
do.
when it's like seed stitch here? Will that matter? Will it matter? Okay.
Because when you do mattress stitch, you do it on the right side of the fabric, so you can see exactly where you're going. Okay. And then when you pull it to tighten, you leave it loose for 6 or 7 stitches, then you pull it and it goes like a zipper.
Nice.
Comes together, but you're working on the right side, so you can always see where you're, that's why I like it. Okay. With the back stitch, you work on the wrong side. Yeah. The end result is the same, but I just prefer to see where I'm going. Like
I've always just done the back stitch, and I haven't done that many seamed garments.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, so that's that. So now I just I'll do the sleeves 2 at a time as well. And for people that are seeing this for the first time, it's the cowl cardigan designed by Rowan, and it is knit in Kid Classic in cherry red.
Squishy.
Yeah, it's very squishy. It's double moss stitch.
Yes. Oh, okay. So 2 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 rows. Knit on top of each other, and purl on top of each other, and then the opposite to make the seed stitch. So that's that.
And is the entire thing, or do you get to switch to a new stitch at some
garter
point?
for the sleeves.
Well,
so at
garter
least,
for the
and
sleeves
and they're flat. Yeah, so at least it's knitting all the way.
That's TV knitting. Well, you probably have increases.
Not at the sheeping.
Yeah.
The one thing about Rowan patterns is that they are very succinct. So the whole pattern for this is 1.5 pages long. Oh. So they always say things like, and at the same time, and do this on the left side, and then reverse and repeat the shaping on the right side. Okay. So you have to have your wits about you a little bit.
So if they don't write it all out for both sides.
That's
and
right.
always probably a good idea to read the whole pattern through then.
Yes.
Because I know some folks like to start and then they're like, okay, I'll worry about that section when I get there. But if you're getting things that say, and at the same time, you want to make sure you've read that.
At least the full paragraph. You don't have to read the whole pattern, but at least read the full paragraph.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, and I was doing 2 at a time everywhere, but I'm not foolish enough to think that I would be able to keep track of at the same time and reversing shaping on the other side. So what I did was I stopped once it got to the raglan shaping. I stopped knitting 2 at a time, finished the first side, and then finish the second side.
That sounds wise.
Yeah, because otherwise I'd be keeping track of 4 sets of decreases.
Yeah.
Which, who needs
Yeah,
that?
because you were decreasing both sides even.
The neck, and you had to create the neck as well. So you've got a slight V on the neck where the cowl is knit in afterwards. And so you had to decrease on the neck side and decrease on the raglan side.
Okay.
On the right panel and the left panel.
Opposites.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So
So if we haven't confused you enough.
I'm all up for challenges, but that was one I didn't need to have. So that's good progress for that.
Very much so.
And we have a KAL going on.
Yes, we do.
So I have to apologize because I caught up on all of the comments in the Ravelry group. So yes, there is a Ravelry group for the Scandiwork Kristen Drysdale KAL that we're doing. So just to recap a little bit, because I know we're getting some new viewers lately. We started the KAL, I think it was probably back in October.
That far back?
I think it was that
Kim,
long ago.
really?
I know.
Oh, we are.
Time is really flying.
Oh,
it's
my
unbelievable.
Goodness. Okay.
So it was back in October, and we started the KAL, and I put 2 threads in Ravelry. One was big plans for the KAL, and the other one was finished objects. So now people are finishing sweaters because it's been so long. But the KAL goes until the end of April. So I gave everybody lots of time. Turns out it's probably us that needs the time. So I'm really sorry because I saw some comments today on there and they were saying, well, it's not a very active group. So I don't know if it's finished or not or whatever. So it's going to get more active because now we've both started finally our sweaters.
Yes, we have.
So you showed us a swatch.
I did. I showed you a swatch, and
Yes.
there was a couple things before. I'm building suspense here before I pull this out of the bag.
Okay.
So I was working on not being frustrated, trying to do swatching for in the round, but doing it flat.
Right.
So I was going back and forth and leaving the long strands in the back. Then I had a moment, and I went, this entire sweater is covered in this chart and color work. A sleeve is a perfect thing to do a swatch in the round. So
you're smart.
I started the sleeve.
Okay.
Now this is the original colors I planned to do. And I do really like it, but it is not the person who I'm intending to give this to. When I look at this, she would pick it up maybe on Sundays or on Easter, but I know if I give her something this light and delicate and elegant looking, she won't wear it.
Okay.
And I want her to wear it.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, I love crow wing.
Right.
That's basically our black is what we have. So I went ahead and started the sleeve again.
So which pattern are you doing? Cordelia.
Oh, this is Lady Cordelia by Kristen Drysdale. Yeah.
Oh,
so she designed this one with Selkirk worsted yarn specifically for ours. It was supposed to be for the Fiber Festival. That's done and gone. This is a new year. Moving on. So that I'm sorry. This just, I started it and I went, oh. So for all of you who told me too low contrast, you should go higher contrast. Okay, fine. That's all I'll say. Okay, fine. Whatever. Again, moving on.
So I just want to be clear because the whole idea was this was supposed to be very soft and delicate, which it is. And I the last time I was editing, you couldn't really even see what we're doing. But now I'm wondering if you can see it even better now that you've got this much done, because you just really had like a teeny tiny bit. So we'll take a picture of this close up because it's really very, very delicate, and it's pearl and Mayflower.
And Mayflower,
right?
yes.
And Selkirk
and even
worsted.
my knit night group, said last night that they liked it, and yes, you could see it, the contrast enough that it would work, but it just really, when I'm thinking about who I'm making it for, it's really not. It's just
her.
not them.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it a secret. She'll probably figure it out. Yeah. So what this allowed me to do was kind of, I used this as my swatch, and it told me to go up a needle size. So I think I'm more than the recommended, which I almost always need a larger needle than the recommended, because I'm such a tense knitter.
Okay.
And it's going really well. I made it and this was like 5 days.
Wow.
That I was excited to work on it, which told me I'm on the right track.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this is the sleeve, one of.
Yeah.
And I think
Great.
it needs about that much more.
Okay,
And then,
great.
Yeah.
So you're making really good progress with that.
Yeah.
It's very squishy and nice.
It's so squishy and
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, lovely. Yeah, really cool. So Kristen did her hers in Trillium, which is a green and white or natural, but this is really stunning.
I really like it.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I also thought too, it does her pattern justice.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure she put in all that time and work to show this off, and I felt like this wasn't showing it off enough.
Right.
So, and even though I was worried about it being too loud or too kind of too loud for the intended recipient, I don't think this is, even though it has all over pattern. Somehow it doesn't feel loud.
Yeah.
It's busy because there's
Yeah.
stuff going on, but
Yeah.
not like in your face kind
No,
of.
it's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
Feels really nice. So I started mine.
Okay.
So we talked in the last podcast that it was a Christmas Eve cast on. That didn't happen. So it's more like a New Year's Eve cast on.
Okay. All right. Here we
Anyway,
go.
I'm doing a swatch because I want to go down a needle size. So I'm doing the Maya.
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 Yep, Maya.
With a J. Maja. Maya. And I'm supposed to be swatching in the round, but I can't stand those strings either. So, and I
your
didn't.
sleeve is solid, so you can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm just doing a swatch. I know my yarn well enough. I know kind of what I'm going to get. So it's really kind of just to make sure. wanted to make sure that the color contrast was good.
I like it.
Yeah. So this is purple coneflower and aster. So part of the amethyst gradient. And I'll take a close-up picture of that. And then I did enough rows of just plain stockinette that I'm going to be able to take the gauge, because she suggests you take the gauge on both. So the yoke is this, like this, and a little bit around the sleeve and a little bit around the bottom, but then the middle part is just plain one color. So I have to do some in stockinette, and so I'll get my gauge on my color work, and I'll get my gauge on the stockinette. So this is supposed to be knit on quite a large needle, which would make it's on a 5mm needle.
Yeah.
And a slightly thicker yarn. So I went down to, I did a 4.5 on the color work, and then I switched to a 4 on the stockinette, and I'm hoping that the gauge works out. I actually like knitting our yarn on a 3.75.
You do like you had told me that, and I was kind of working with that, but I'm pushing myself to loosen it up.
Yeah. So even for me to go to a 4.5 and a 4 is going up, and it still feels good.
Well, and you've said several times that, and I agree with you, because I've now had our yarn in a garment and I've worn it enough to know it really does fluff up.
Yeah.
So if you allow and leave some of that space, it allows for that to happen.
Yeah.
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 So I'm liking it going, and it adds a bit of
Yes,
drape.
and to be honest, I wanted a slightly thinner sweater, because this is done on a 3.75. It's pretty heavy because it's dense.
Yeah.
Which is what I wanted for this, but for this I thought it'll be a bit of a finer sweater because there's just more space between the stitches. So.
And when you're doing the color work, you're getting double the fabric anyway.
Yes, yes.
Which her floats. Look at this, folks. Look at that. That's stunning. I'm not showing you mine. Nuh-uh. To me, showing my floats is paramount to flashing my undies.
Oh,
so
wow.
Not happening.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, there's a few big ones in here, but
No, you do a lovely job.
anyway, so that's that. So I'm super happy with the way that's going to turn out. It would actually be more like this.
I like that chart too.
Yeah.
It's all like, yeah.
You can't, it's hard to see, also because it's lower contrast. It was kind of hard to see. I was looking at the chart thinking, mine's not, maybe I'm making mistakes, it's not working. But when you get it all together and you look at it from a distance, you definitely see it. So.
And I've had to practice that several times. I heard that advice on another podcast that saying like, sometimes we look at our work too close, too long, too intense.
Yeah.
So it's good to just like move it further away and then come back the next day and look at it from a distance.
Yes.
And it does help.
Yeah, exactly. So for everybody that might be disappointed because we haven't really been present on the KAL, the knit along, we are full steam ahead now.
We're coming.
Yeah. Betsy's even got
And this
two sweaters.
This is now my, no, this one will pause. I have other plans for this. Well, the pearl is carrying on over here. It's just now become.
It's funny that it's the same color, but it looks completely different.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Okay.
I think with the crow wing, it looks almost more, well, I don't know.
More whitish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because here it looks silver.
Yeah.
And here it looks
white almost.
Because I was actually thinking, oh, going forward, I might just use pearl in place of natural.
Right.
Because I like a really white yarn.
Right.
And when you're working with 100% wool, now knowing the process and what I know, to get a really white without bleach, without any kind of processing is difficult because it does not grow on the sheep. White.
Right. It's kind of a crew.
Yeah. A crew.
A crew.
Okay.
All right. So that's the Scandiwork KAL. We're back. So I hope people that have bought, I know a lot of people have bought yarn to start. So if you haven't started yet, the New Year's, that's what I started on my New Year's.
She did have a New Year's goal.
Yeah.
She just didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that. Okay. And I'm not showing my Wallflowers blanket because it was still out here from the last podcast that we recorded. And I didn't really have that much time to work because I was head company and stuff like that. But that's kind of a little bit of an excuse because I could have worked on it.
I was teasing her and saying, oh my gosh, you left it at work? Like, oh, I'm not going to go all the way back into work to pick it up.
Yeah, which is across the driveway. But I had moments of inkling like, oh, shoot, I should really go out and get it. I could do a few. Then I was like, oh, no, what's that? Something else to do.
You got your Maya going.
Yes,
and you
I got my
lots on
Maya.
Your
cardigan. I did knit quite a lot on the cardigan. So I'm okay with that, but I will start because I have all the pieces, like a big chunk of pieces done that just need to be joined. So I'm going to do that.
You'll get there.
And are you using yours?
I was. And then, so I had it kind of draped over the back of a sitting chair, but when I would sit on it, it was pulling down and I was seeing some stretch.
Oh, okay.
So I actually hesitated and I did fold it back up and put it somewhere for now. It will make a beautiful spread, but it doesn't go with my current color of quilt.
Oh, okay.
Which is okay, because I know me. I will switch that quilt in the next couple of years because I love quilts. So I do. And I will make my next one with those colors in mind.
Okay. So then you'll have like exactly that. Okay, great. And do you have anything else in your bag?
No,
that's it.
That's what actually, just still on chart. It's not knitting, but on, so reading charts for me, I find really challenging. I think there are some programs out there on like tablets that will kind of move up the row for you.
Knit Companion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't love looking at screens and I actually like to use my tablet as my entertainment.
Right.
So I printed it all out and then my sister for Christmas sent me this like customized clipboard.
Oh.
A good old fashioned clipboard.
Yeah.
So I put it on. I put it in plastic. I maybe shouldn't show the chart. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Put it in plastic and then she gave me washi tape.
Yeah.
So I like moved the washi tape up each line, which is helping me
That's great.
a
And
lot.
how cool is that to have your own very own clipboard?
So cute. She made one for each member of my family.
Oh yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah. And then she sent it with like a little pencil case that she did some ink stamping on, and some tea towels with some ink stamping. She's so organized and so gifted in this kind of like area of life. I always look at it and I go, oh, why didn't I think of getting that? And she had this organized and sent back with us when we went to visit home in July for a wedding. Oh, like wrapped for Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Had to bring them home. They sat on a shelf and waited.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, that was there. That was that. So I have a method that's working for me too.
Yes,
because I hate when you get lost on your chart.
Yeah, I know. It takes the fun out of it.
So I'm moving forward. Lots of good ways to move forward.
All right. So we have our knitting in front of us. Yeah. We know what we're doing. And I think that's it.
So take care.
Yeah, take care. And we just wish everybody has a happy New Year. I'll be back after this section to do the shop update. But let's just hope it's a year with not too much excitement.
Yep. That's what I'm going for. Like I said, floating into the new year and hopefully just floating through it.
Calm and joy and just not too much excitement.
Sounds good.
That's right. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Okay, so there's the segment with the works in progress and no ripping. Well, no, she did rip. She might do two things. So there was no ripping either. So Betsy, you never know what she's going to come up with. And I love her scarf. It really, really is great. And point prim sock yarn is such a versatile, beautiful yarn. And it looked great on her. So I think that's it for today. And as I said in the introduction, we are going to visit the little country church that is close to our farm. And I think that I chose this to do this in the harmony part because I think it's just so peaceful and calm. A lot of people were interested to see the church was built in the early 1800s by the people that landed here from Scotland. It was one of the first permanent buildings that was built here, so it was really important. They built houses, obviously, but they built all of the infrastructure that they needed to be able to build this church. And it's had gone through a few changes over its lifetime. There was an extension done in the end, and I explained some of this in the last podcast. But it looks pretty much, the woodwork and everything looks pretty much the same as what it would have looked like when it was built. Obviously, there's modern things in there now because they have screens at the front, and when they do services, they put all of the words to the music and everything. So when they're singing in the church, then they do that. So they have that modern parts, but the actual structure of the church and the way that it feels inside hasn't really changed much since it had been built in, I think it was built in 1812, if I'm not mistaken. So have a lovely 2 weeks with your crafting, and may your next 2 weeks be filled with joy and happiness, and come and relax a little bit in this beautiful country church. Have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.